Ha! We have slain the VPN.
It's not really a VPN. Oh, forget it. The point is, it worked. It worked because we masked our biosignals as malware spam from the planet. The shields just didn't block it in a firewall. We were beamed in without a problem, just like hollows.
So our molecules could have been spread out all over space?
They weren't, but yes.
Oh, now she tells us.
I'm picking up Seto's implant. Implant? What implant? I can't tell you yet, as there are ears everywhere. But she is that way. She is near the large structure over there. Looks like a casino. It isn't, though. It's an elaborate simulation.
This is a holodeck, an imagined deck. How very elaborate.
It's more than that. Freaky loud is where AIs and hollows have been able to live beyond the pale of the band.
This is silly. They seem to be enacting Lucky Clerks.
It is obsessed with Lucky Clerks now, which is the program reading Mike and Rich or the Sillians also. Or even Gamelt's Uncharted. I would know.
The aliens seem to be commenting on the final episodes of Lucky Clerks. They were a train wreck. A dumpster fire. I am dumber for watching the whole thing. Could be all this is messing with us. We haven't eaten in a while. How do we know the food here isn't just holographic food? I hadn't thought of that.
Lol, I feel the same. Just drained. Like I've been up for 3 hours, but now I'm ready to nap after this. I think the ship has sent a landing party. They're coming.
Should we keep it a secret for now?
It would be prudent. This way. Don't attract attention to it. We will discuss the finale the alien showed us. What's the point of killing a character, having several different people cry and mourn, only to resurrect the character 5 minutes later?
Or the fact that some of those characters are crying over said character, even though they've only known the character for about a week. Lucky Clerks has survivor's guilt about B9's sacrifice, so him giving his own life to protect B9's daughter and her kind also allows him to both reconnect with his values and sense of purpose, as well as doing right by B9.
The huge problem is that Lucky Clerk's character and narrative arc was woefully underdeveloped at every step.
B9's role in the series was peripheral at best. He got brought up a lot, but Lucky Clerk's survivor's guilt was never made explicit enough throughout, or his motivation for saving the androids in honor of B9's memory. Girl 1 and Girl 2 also weren't exactly B9's daughters, but created by Maddox via some meaningless jiggery-bogery. Loosely related to B9, he used a positronic neuron from B9 as a starting point for the creation of further android life or something. They just wanted to sound smart, but they weren't. Why not have just said they took out his brain? That would have made some sense. At every step, there was either too much extraneous or nonsensical detail, or not enough development in the areas where it mattered most. In the end, Lucky Clerks becoming an android didn't just feel exactly as stupid as it was, but the sacrifice didn't even have the emotional connection it needed to be satisfying on a character level. Rather than feeling like a sacrifice for B9, it felt like a sacrifice for the other androids, with this meeting which I thought was one of the better scenes as a one-off. That's been a metric ton of bull, a time-wasting and needless complication in areas which would have been much better served by simplicity and clarity. I swear that episode was written as if Patrick Stewart only wanted to do one season, and then only half-assedly added the Gollum thing at the last minute.
I guarantee that the Lucky Clerks that pops up next to B9 as he's deleted was supposed to be the real Lucky Clerks, with them both dying together.
You could have the emotional impact without any of the risk. 5 minutes of emotional impact for people whose attention spans can't handle a minute more. It's Tabby and a rescue team with Kolos from the other timeline. Makes more sense than what happened here. What a twist! It would seem you were not in immediate danger, so we can be leaving now.
No, not yet. We already know there's going to be more seasons of this. 2 more seasons of Lucky Clerks without Lucky Clerks? Yeah, not gonna happen. Captain Lucky Clerks died in this episode, and I was bored watching it happen. The aliens begin assimilating the hall.
Captain Accent has a magic tool from Aldea that looks like a cheap carnival prize. Not Lore gets tricked by Sadface. He doesn't even suspect a thing, for some reason.
Harry Clothcutter tells the story of Armageddon, so even people in a coma can understand what's coming.
Sadface demolition mans her way into Lucky Clerks' room, and they get back to the ship completely unnoticed somehow. Not Lore turns off Yellow Girl 2 with a remote, but not the others. This is for you. It's good you said that, because if you hadn't said that, I wouldn't have known it was for you. This is for you. Yay, we're saved, except we aren't, because you are all trapped here with us. Great plan. Briefly, someone really needs to tell New Trek that copy-pasting the same ship 1,000 times does not actually make space battles cooler.
Funny how when they had a fleet on Deep Space Nine, they always had a lot of variety to it. This scene just makes it look like Starfleet just has a gazillion copies of one ship ready to go to war at the drop of a hat. Were all those ships just randomly hanging around waiting for marching orders? Is this a squadron? Wasn't the point that their shipyard was destroyed? They learned from the great replicator himself, J.J. Abrams.
Everything must be the biggest, most badass thing of all time. Just like 10-year-old me playing with my Power Rangers action figures.
But Clerks is the most important and best commander of the Old Guard ever. It is impressive. Very impressive.
A diplomat who valued non-confrontational solutions above all else. I mean, maybe he was bluffing, which would be in character for Riker, but somehow it didn't come across that way to me.
Shadow Dancer, where'd you go?
Seems this place is full of fake casino machines and tables and dead ends. They didn't completely create this world, or it's malfunctioning because the evil leader is gone.
Evil leader?
Yeah, this lady who looked like a young Deanna Riker. Seven killed her. Then Pouty Face killed Maddox on the ship.
Elrond knocks out several of these superpowered androids before the director forgets he's there.
Seriously, where does he go? Captain Accent launches the slowest detonating bomb in the history of the universe at Girl 2. I guess they did invent timed explosives after Voy, but not proximity explosives?
Shred Clothcutter gets sparted. Seriously, after all the ridiculous stuff she survives, the dude lives? Come on. The Romulan fleet arrives and doesn't immediately fire. Remember how a single Klingon ship effortlessly exterminated a planet instantly in the chase.
Lucky Clerks and Sadface used the carnival prize toy to slow the fleet down with the dumbest, most ludicrous trick in Starship history. It only works because they're Sillians now, and have silly powers, provided by a cute-like being, but never explained. Seriously, the Romulan sensors get tricked by a tiny tool. Riker shows up with a squad of 200 ships, huh? Lucky Clerks does a 1-minute speech that convinces Girl 2 not to wipe out all biological life in the universe. A single minute. The only thing we see of the Reapers is 2 shots of red glowing robotic space tentacles. That's it.
The Romulan fleet arrives and doesn't immediately fire. That's because they were ordered to prepare for surface cleanse no less than 4 times by the now no longer covert Romulan agent who snuck away from Starfleet without anyone noticing.
Riker shows up with a squad of 200 ships, huh? He arrives in the flagship of the Federation that is somehow not the Enterprise, which also has Dreadnought-class levels of power, and there are 200 of them. The guests must remain here and buy more or gamble more. It is the way of the freaky loud. All must buy and gamble. All must pay debts to the great Elvis god, or the Siegfried and Roy gods, or the Celine Dion goddess.
The tentacles remind me of Gach.
They're Reapers from Mass Effect.
The only thing we see of the Reapers is 2 shots of red glowing robotic space tentacles. That's it. It's the Reapers.
Or they come from Firefly, the Reavers, but they were more like zombie camels. I told Commander Ho in this timeline that when Riker attacks, I will hunt her down. And then she will wish she never took command of the ships. Why did Commodore O have to be physically on the Romulan ship, then breaking her years-long undercover placement if any Federation turned up?
Why did she just send a message to a general? Why was Will Riker an acting captain in control of a 200-plus ship large battle fleet?
He was available, as if via the entropy device thing, the MacGuffin.
Why were there no admirals around?
No, there were none that were available. They were too busy plotting and scheming, like characters from a bad spy movie.
What about captains of the other ships? They weren't acting captains. Surely they outrank him.
Yes, they did, but this was all dreamed up after imbibing massive amounts of Romulan ale, which made them all drunk. That's the story, I think. If the beacon that the synths designed is a form of wormhole, and is designed by super intelligent but ancient synths who left it here to form an emergency help beacon, why didn't the super intelligent and alien synths on the other side of the void just reopen the portal?
From their perspective, they received an emergency help transmission. As we know, they have the technology to create the wormholes. Presumably, they could imagine that the organics might have sabotaged the open portal in some way, so just make it from their side. Making an excuse for them already. Curious, though, it's in English, and they understand after millennia.
Excuse me, but we must continue with the distractions, or discussions. Why did 7 of 9 decide to throw a character known for emergency teleport out of bad situations down a Star Wars Emperor well, rather than just stab her in the face or something? In fact, why was the bad Romulan woman trying to kill Lucky Clerk's ship at all?
The answer to all of your questions is because the writers thought it would be cool. I would doubt it, but I suspect you're right. They are that shallow, I can tell. I agree. I'm now craving a Milwaukee beer. This is the reason for everything on that show. Is it logical, consistent, in character? Who cares, as long as it's cool? Oh, and I'm sure that Season 2 of Lucky Clerks will totally forget the Romulans have committed an act of war against the Federation, both by attacking Mars and the Fleet of Grief, and not to mention killing all their scientists on the Borg Reclamation Division.
Why did Commander O have to be physically on the Romulan ship, thus breaking her years-long undercover placement if any Federation turned up?
Why didn't she just send a message to the general? I don't think they thought that far ahead.
The only reasonable explanation would be that she knew her cover was blown after what she did to Agnes, so she fled shortly after the mind meld.
But it was just the Romulan in charge needs to be a character we've established already. Why was Will Riker an acting captain in control of a 200-plus ship battle fleet?
Guess he's the best, so when he must be there, realistically, he just is. Unless it's all that freaking device. And none of it happened.
Were there no admirals around?
If it was merely the fix-it device bluffing the Romulans, they were pretty dumb to be tricked by a series of holograms.
What about the captains of the other ships? They weren't acting captains. Surely they outrank him. Does the timeline here even make sense? Even if Riker ran to Starfleet the second Lucky Clerks left, surely there would be no way for him to gain command of a fleet and arrive in time for the encounter.
But the passage of time doesn't make sense here. Try to discreetly get us out into the clearing, out in the open, so we can contact our ships.
They don't seem to be holding us here, merely pressuring us to buy something, or to play games. I like games, as much as the next guy, but this is too rich for my taste.
That is because you are cheap, Uncle.
That is true, ha! Through the main area we came in is an antechamber with machines for gambling. The aliens are enacting the fleet leaving. This is so manic. Why? I don't know what's going on. I absolutely loved how the entire Federation fleet just warped out of there the moment the Romulans left.
Yes, as if the Romulans wouldn't just return immediately and finish them all off while the rest were gone. That's a bad strategy for saving the planet, unless they were not meant to.
I suspect that Commander Seto's idea that the fleet was somehow the product of the device would explain why Riker immediately leaves. No checks on the planet, no offers of support, nothing. Clearly Riker had a pizza in the oven he needed to get back to.
Exactly, Captain Koloth. Because it was an illusion, but the writers of this did not say so. And because they did not, it was not an illusion, but merely bad writing. And what is written here or dreamed here becomes reality, so be careful what you wish for.
When the Federation fleet recaptured Deep Space Nine, the fleet didn't immediately piss off to pastures new. It's a super-secret organization with a giant fleet is so against synthetics like this. Surely the fact that the transmitter was destroyed is meaningless. Why didn't they just come back the moment the Federation left and bombard the planet? Surely the fact that the ancient aliens they feared for centuries began to arrive is proof that their work must continue. Rather than weaken the organization, the encounter should significantly strengthen its resolve.
And how could I forget that the Romulan secret society has at least 5 planetary sterilization patterns?
You know, because one just isn't enough. Why does everything feel so cheap and poorly done? I still remember seeing the Defiant slotting into the Federation Klingon fleet after it retreated from Deep Space Nine and thinking, just like the Romulan fleet. It's so disappointing.
Yeah, I must assume they knew the fleet looked awful, which is why we'd never get a close-up of a shot lasting longer than 0.3 seconds.
They subverted expectations. The Scat Bash, the incestuous siblings, a crew of mavericks we don't give a damn for, stupid window bridge ships, and ships you can barely tell heads from tails from. The jazzy, totally not Firefly thing, showing the Borg back in there, not answering any real questions the O9 stupid brought up in the first place. You're too forgiving. Every one of these things is a gripe to drop the whole show for. That was pure dreck, from premiere to season finale. I don't know what kind of class Riker was captaining, but even says it's the fastest, deadliest ship, and states that he's an entire fleet of them. It's all nonsense. Even the warbirds look identical to each other. Sure, they always have, and will look similar, but it's just so lazy. Why is a Lucky Clerk after saving the Quadrant Galaxy? Why is it Lucky Clerks after saving the Quadrant Galaxy, whatever, being left behind by Starfleet and not being given a ship or one of those hundreds of Curiosity class, the one Riker's using, heavy cruisers? As Seto suggested, he was never there. Makes sense. Why does Riker just leave the old dying man behind? What, was the tentacle creature coming through the portal? That's too clever. They're not thinking of that. Will that be the last we ever see of it? I hope so. The entire show has gone off the deep end. So, Riker as reserve captain can get the most modern Starfleet ship and a whole fleet with dozens or hundreds of them along with it? The Federation had them ready, just like that.
They are not out on patrol or missions. They've just been sitting in space dock, fully crewed, no less.
And they built all that with a Mars dock still burning? I'm putting that right here. It's like, why would they be burning if there's no oxygen on Mars? Aye, and the two fleets looked boring and copy-pasted.
We haven't been outside the casino sim yet. It only looked that way.
That's clever.
You're free to go if you consume.
You want us to spend latinum? Big space battle that was a headache to watch.
It looks like the beginning, but even that is more exciting than 1,000 ships shooting back and forth.
Was the new Federation ship an NX? It looks just like the Bacula Enterprise. Dumb show. I wish I could say it's interesting. But this repeat offensive of this place is becoming more and more bizarre and complicated. Clearly they're trying to con us, and you cannot out-con a con, Ferengi. I powered through just because I started, and I really don't plan on watching Season 2, but if Reddit Letter Media reviews it, I'll watch it, and then I'll feel bad that they must watch it. He's a true fan. I like him. Thank you. Was there a big fight?
I might just watch it if there was a big fight, because I need to hate something other than the whole coronavirus situation.
Yeah, it's the same ship times 1,000 fighting the same ship times 1,000. They do a fake Lucky Clerks maneuver.
They tried to do the million CGI things smashing into a million CGI things, not once but 3 times. Firstly with Space Orchids versus Romulans, then Romulans versus holographic ships, then Federation versus Romulans, with the added surprise guest, Mass Effect Reaper robot, Lovecraftian tentacles from beyond space.
Dun, 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 dun. Oh.
But each fight goes nowhere, or in the case of the final one, never actually starts despite promising to. But if you want to see how cut and paste technology has improved, this is the finale for you. Nothing happened.
I'm dying.
The Romulan Zapvash killed more Romulans by making Mars happen than the killer robots killed. They never were charged in the obvious machinations of the synths leading to their rebellion, but it's clearly obvious they had something to do with it from the get-go. Something that should have been addressed at Starfleet at the time. So you're saying they were the good guys all along? And the Romulan Star Empire was in fact the shining beacon of Utopian United Roddenberries in Space Federation, but the secret organization within the Romulan organization that hates bots but can program them to do what all uprising, and then absolutely nothing else blew up on Mars, and caused the only hope of rescuing the Romulan homeworld to say, screw that. Somehow, they managed to screw up a perfectly fine 30-second Lucky Clerk speech before the space battle by constantly cutting to Agnes's O face during it. Gotta remind the audience how to feel.
Cuts to her were like applause laugh signs on live TV shows. Riker was 10-10 the whole time. Everything else was Bizarro World.
I still suspect the MacGuffin thing did it. The creators forgot it did, but it did. I see we're not done until we kick this dead equine through for some message that probably doesn't exist.
It's the space internet on this planet. Anything here exists, and there is even adult content of it. But I would not recommend that. No, this is a family program.
What are they on about again? It would seem they've gone back to the death scenes. They like those. A morbid bunch, really.
So, I hear B9 died again. Lucky Clerks died, then was made an android. And lots of insulting, stupid, vapid, meaningless crap happened. If you ever wanted to see an 80-year-old Lucky Clerks get yelled at to shut up by a Starfleet admiral, this is the show for you. So wait, they made him an android, but an old and frail one? The price of immortality is being an old frail man for eternity? I would rather die instead. No one's ever really gone. I laughed when they told Lucky Clerks they didn't give him any special abilities. Can't have our 79-year-old lead performing stunts.
Why not make him a young, hip, immortal, faster, stronger, better, and so forth?
I would watch the 6 million Latinum Lucky Clerks. Why bring Lucky Clerks back at all?
Are they saving the sun throwing for Season 2? And the Galaxy Frisbee fights for Season 3?
Uber android to know where they are because they use the beacon and proceed to kill all organic life in the galaxy. The end.
Anti-spirals turn up, and Lucky Clerks must combine the Enterprise with a Borg cube. Yes, killing whole universes is a little over the top. All my friends love this show. They're crazy about it. Even the non-ST fans. I hate it. I feel so alone.
I honestly don't understand how you could consider the show good.
I can imagine liking the lesser CW series with their hallway drama, but this is just so incredibly bland and underwritten.
Bad Robot focuses purely on the emotional connection to the brain synapses. Logic doesn't fit in that universe. If I see and the galaxy will be destroyed one more time, I'm gonna puke. I've had it. That's nothing but an attempt to create stakes that you didn't build yourself, and best of all, does not even work. How am I supposed to comprehend a scale like that and be emotionally invested in it? It's like blowing up planets and entire solar systems with all of the weight of a wet fart behind it.
It'd be a little hackneyed, but I would have preferred it. It's a step down from Disco Season 1, when all life and all galaxies and all universes was at stake. But you cannot have such a thing and have it make a lick of sense. I was really hoping the beacon thing would reveal itself as a test, akin to something from TOS, like there'd be AI and they'd go, "Oh, you wanted us to kill organic life just to save you? You don't deserve to ascend to be with us. Maybe one day."
They subverted our expectations by making it dumber than anyone could have imagined.
Harry Clothcutter just walks around the board cube without anyone but his sister noticing. Lucky Clerks dies. Elrond's fake crying gave me the biggest laugh of the series. Lucky Clerks goes to robot heaven, and Benign tells him it's a massively complex quantum simulation. Second biggest laugh.
They put Lucky Clerks in the robot body and made it just as old and frail as it was. Just why?
They painted themselves into a corner, logically. They couldn't just off him. Test audiences hated that. So they simply shoehorned in a silly, "Oh, we have a spare body lying around. Want it?" gag.
Lucky Clerks removes the oversized USB drive that keeps Benign alive. I don't know, but I wouldn't have used something so flimsy. Everyone is buddies now, and Lucky Clerk says, engage. Here's his crew at the end.
Girl 2, who seriously considered wiping out all biological life.
7 killed dozens of people after promising Lucky Clerks not to. Captain Accent has 5 holograms of himself with different accents.
Space Vape, who didn't want to get into this at all. Elrond is free to go. He who killed someone needlessly in front of Lucky Clerks.
Sad Face, who brutally murdered Maddox like 2 days earlier. Remember that? Guess not. It was more like a week or so earlier, not 2 days. Oh, and don't forget that 7 and Space Trailer Park Girl got so drunk that they are now lesbian lovers, even though Trailer Park Girl has a son and is in love with JL.
That was stupid. Hot middle-aged girls are hot if they kiss. Come on. Came out of nowhere. Hated it.
Did they give the Reapers tentacles just like in Mass Effect? Yeah, they did, but we've already been over that.
Yes, they did. We should be trying to figure this out, as we can't stay forever.
Yes, eventually we will starve. Let us attempt to carefully make our way to the exit. They even forgot whole characters. Narek, for instance. He was there on the planet when they fired up the transmitter, but was just not there after that. Nothing happened to make him go away. What gives? Yeah, that is very strange. Surely it is not a plot hole, an otherwise well-executed wreck. What happened to Narek? Where'd he go? They go back into the village, and then he's just gone. Who? Oh, Harry? He went home. Got bored. Is he Harry? I suspect we were kidding earlier. And no, he's not. Where did he go? Where did he go? Where did he go? Damn, that crew was a trigger-happy bunch.
I would watch Season 2 of Lucky Clerks, where they just go around the galaxy committing murders everywhere. Lucky Clerks then gives disappointed speeches, but no one cares.
Oh, what was the point of this entire thing? It's a TNG2 plot stretched to 10 episodes. And all this to resolve something we did not know needed resolving. Which is the point about the Trek Virgin, Trek Core, and all those other places, Trek movie. All the various Trek places where they wanted resolution to Nemesis they weren't ever going to get. And did this movie really do that? Kind of. Because there should have been a search for Data immediately after Nemesis, but there wasn't. They never did it. Now I guess everyone's okay with Agnes murdering Maddox. To paraphrase, they forgot that she murdered Maddox. They did. So Lucky Clerks could tell B9 that he loved him. Or was it that he was in love with him?
Don't forget introducing the real villain in the last 2 episodes. I thought this was awful, in keeping with the rest of the season, I suppose. The whole show feels pointless. Absolutely no stakes or anything interesting, really.
The cast of the show is dull, with the Doctor being the worst offender.
You mean there's going to be one more season of this? If you take a list of sci-fi cliches, put them in a box, shake the box, and arrange them as they come out, you get the plot of Lucky Clerks. Even in a post-scarcity society, there's no reason to build a frail cyborg.
Post-scarcity. Humans and their boxing up ideas to humanize them.
But what about space refugees living on dusty backward planets, instead of any of the highly advanced planets they conquered that weren't blown up?
Or what about the future trailer park, where the poor go to brood and vape, even though they used to be smart enough for Starfleet, and are now somehow only qualified enough to live in a dusty-ass trailer park? Might as well have thrown Q in there for no reason, just to further irritate the crap out of anyone who's ever watched Starship. Endless trash. The contrast is mental. How did we go from having a conversation about hitting someone in the back of the head being too Western to gladly decapitating people with swords left and right?
I have questions.
I imagine you do, but we do not have answers. The aliens are, however, not stopping us from finding the door. Let us go.
You may go outside and see what is changing per your visit.
Cryptic response. Now that golems exist, can Geordie finally download the holographic Leah Brahms into a golem and have weird sex with her? The holograms have functional brains, as we saw with Brahms, Moriarty, and numerous others, but lack the physical body.
Can we get back to where Harry or Nurek went?
What happened to the Romulan agent man?
They completely forgot to mention him in the wrap-up.
Was he on Lucky Clerk's ship? Didn't look like he had time to contact the Romulans, as he was getting restrained by the synths on the surface when they left. Okay, so they were able to transfer Lucky Clerk's hollow brain into another brain. I can take it. But how did they make the golem an exact replica of Lucky Clerk's?
Aging is due to cellular degradation due to long-term damage. Did they take a perfect human specimen and then age him purposely?
Why? Why didn't they make Lucky Clerk's a 20-year-old again? I don't know how I could handle that.
They can make changes like his brain thingy, right?
Presumably.
So why doesn't it look like a bodybuilder then?
He never looked like a bodybuilder.
If they wanted Lucky Clerks to be the same age as before he died, did they introduce things like poor blood circulation that happen when you grow older?
Clearly, they did not think of the tactical reason to make him an agile warrior again. Or did they leave that out? Who even chose this? They left a lot of plot out.
The aliens herded us back toward their weird displays as we discussed the show. Odd they even know. We can scan ahead and have found they've erected a force field. Try to break through.
Why is the planet holding us here? And how do we get out of here? They've erected some sort of force field.
It seems to have jammed our comm system since we got here, and a rescue team is trapped also. Not sure how we should react. Let's be cautious. Why was Dr. Piedmont on Lucky Clerk's ship at the end of the adventure? Didn't she murder a galaxy-renowned scientist in cold blood? Yes, she did, and she must repent. Can you lead us to her? I don't know where she is. I have no idea. If you are like my sister, you know when I tell you. Would you not know of her? We came here to rescue our friends, nothing more. But you have not gambled or purchased or bartered. You must consume. It is the way of the people. That's interesting. They seem to be just like a space casino planet should be, and yet are obsessed with Lucky Clerk's show.
A clerk is now the most important man in the Federation, because he alone can provide information on the capabilities of the synths who are now free citizens of the Federation.
Speaking of the Federation, is this how the Federation membership works in the Lucky Clerks era? We are intrigued since the leaving of the evil leader. We are very interested.
A Starfleet admiral went to an alien planet and sent a message saying that they wanted to start diplomacy with the Federation. And this contained no message from the native people of that world. This is enough for the Federation to not just accept them into the Federation, but also to send a huge battle fleet to defend them against the Romulans.
It is illogical, but for us to have justice, we must have the location of the one you call Piedmont.
So the Romulans have about 400 ships that are warships and actively in service, presumably modern.
How did a race of people who underwent a diaspora bad enough that they now live in Wild West towns and their former ambassadors get drunk during the day still have the capability to operate a sophisticated research operation on a bored cube and maintain the type of war fleet? Are they peasants, or are they thriving? Why was Girl 2 the person chosen to operate the intergalactic homing beacon? The whole settlement full of synths. Why was she, a person who has spent a lot of time around organic people, used to believe that she was an organic person, and very obviously had sympathies for organic people, chosen to be the one to operate the beacon that wiped out all of the organic people?
Why didn't Evil Girl 2 do it?
In fact, why didn't Evil Girl 2 just kill Normal Girl 2 in her sleep, while it was clear she was having doubts?
Speaking of Evil Girl 2, why didn't she kill Lucky Clerks?
She wanted to wipe out all organic life in the universe, right?
And there was a bunch of organics on the planet who could have interfered with her plan.
Why not just kill them immediately? What was her plan in releasing the Romulan agent? Why didn't she just stab her sister in the eye and then choke him to death?
What are the capabilities of the Alton device that the synths gave to the organics? So far, we see that it unfuses things that are impossible to unfuse by fixing a hole.
It can also hack into a computer system or something and make holographic projections of space, which includes warp signatures.
Couldn't it just have closed the wormhole? Why or why not?
You were asking rhetorical questions. We are all about such things. Please disclose the final location of the Piedmont, and we will let you go. We have no use for keeping you here. This is merely for your betterment. It is, however, addicting. You cannot remain here forever. She now seems concerned with us. If Lucky Clerks in B9 are in some sort of quantum afterlife, what happens if when the door opens, Lucky Clerks decides he's going to stick around for a bit?
It's a transfer of information, right?
Yes, that's what it was. Can he stop that transfer of information from a space USB stick to the golem by not walking through the door? Also, why did pulling out B9's space USB sticks physically age him?
It didn't. I think it was euthanizing him. Surely it would have made him stupider or something, as more of his memory and personality were removed. It would have made his memories go away and not age him. He was smoking orchids. The planet is silly. They're suggesting what we should discuss, and then we do. Notice that? I have. It's creepy. Nobody can put together a decent action scene these days.
That's exactly what it is.
Imagine trying to explain to any of the current showrunners that the original Captain Kirk was based on Hornblower. Imagine the blank stares you'd get in return.
What happened to the Romulan agent man?
I had to go back and check.
They completely forgot to mention him in the wrap-up.
Was he on Lucky Clerk's ship? It didn't look like he had time to contact the Romulans, as he was getting restrained by the synths on the surface when they left.
Really? Do you think they just got bored of him?
It appears so. So his exit was cut for time, making a bizarre plot hole that cannot be explained and will not ever be.
Why was Dr. Piedmont on Lucky Clerk's ship at the end of the adventure?
Didn't she murder a galaxy-renowned scientist in cold blood? Even if this Piedmont were directed to, she's still guilty. She would be made a spy on Romulus for that, I bet. Ha! Yes, a spy for the Tal Shiar.
I think the logic of the show is that since she was brainwashed into doing it, all is forgiven. Oh, really? Does law work that way among your people? If someone directs a person to kill, are they not also culpable? It would seem if you hired a hit person, or you were also guilty, at least to me. I guess you will still face some form of a trial, once they return to Federation space. Unless they forgot about it.
Make it so. These copies of Clerk are amusing. This one must be their ambassador version. Speaking of the Federation, is that how the Federation membership works in the Lucky Clerks era? A Starfleet admiral went to an alien planet, set up a message saying that they wanted to start diplomacy with the Federation. And this contained no messages from the native peoples. That is enough for the Federation to not just accept them into the Federation, but also to send a huge battle fleet to defend them against the Romulans? To be fair, I think the whole "I've initiated first contact" was just a ploy to let the Federation help Lucky Clerks. I doubt it was an actual membership. And the fleet wasn't there to protect the planet. They were sent to help Lucky Clerks, who in turn was protecting the planet.
How did a race of people who underwent a diaspora, bad enough that they now live in Wild West towns, and their former ambassadors get drunk during the day, still have the capability to operate a sophisticated research operation on a Borg cube and maintain this type of war fleet? Are they peasants or are they thriving? They are pretending. This is still a distraction because they can't assimilate us with their bluegill friends. We must keep moving.
Same reason Starfleet needed to build new ships on Mars to evacuate Romulans. Clearly, the thousands of Starfleet they got in service couldn't have helped. I've been watching the reviews, and that's been good enough. Glad to hear it's awful all the way, though, and I didn't waste my time on it. We are the Space Trailer Park Boys. We like to play with action toys, where we make a lot of noise. Space Trailer Park Boys? Shish. They're insane. What are they doing? I disagree. Space Trailer Park Boys would be awesome. Make it so. Make it so. Make it so. I think what people want is just a comfy ship with a comfy crew, going from planet to planet, solving problems and explaining some scientific stuff. I saw Xavier, especially when he talks about bigotry and stuff. Agnes, the Lucky Clerks maneuver.
It isn't even cheap pandering anymore. It's just sad.
Lol, that's the one thing in the episode that didn't piss me off. Lucky Clerks loves B9. Confirmed. That ending scene with the two of them was so weird. B9 looks like a vampire, and Lucky Clerks acts even weirder than movie Lucky Clerks. And Starship goes, it was abysmal. As a comedy, however, it was fantastic. There's so much wrong that it would take forever to go through, but one sequence made me chuckle. I think it shows how much of Lucky Clerks' identity was from the writers, directors, and other staff that helped create TNG. The Mass Effect 3 ending did it better. The lowest bar.
Because when they were planning this, they had things they wanted to say about travel bans and Brexit, and related current events. So it always had to lead to a lifting of the ban, whether they made it make sense in the story or not.
Because Lucky Clerks is a hero of the Federation, and everyone in the galaxy owes him one, and would do anything for him.
Ignore the previous 9 episodes of everyone crapping on him, and giving him the blame for the whole situation.
Didn't they have more reason to uphold it? A planet run just by synths tried to destroy everyone.
Can we talk about how many of the fans of the show are just as emotionally unstable as the characters? No, because that's not nice. The aliens are being a distraction, even numbing us to this noise, but I will not be numbed. So many characters cry every episode. We must talk about the queer baiting stuff also, not just because B9 and Clerk, but that weird Raffi and Seven thing from out of left field. Raffi and Seven are lesbians now. It's queer baiting, so they can say the show is woke. It won't be brought up again, ever.
You really think they care? It's just done for shock value. Ooh, look, the hot girls are going to make out. Ooh, gosh, it's like a horny 46-year-old boy wrote that part to relive his fantasies from when he was 13 watching Voyager. I'm glad they gave Sad Man-Child clout enough to write it.
7 of 9 is a lesbian. Remember when she dated Chakotay for years? Wait a minute. I think the writers are stupid.
Where do they find these directors that keep ruining franchises that should be so easily adapted with a simple consultation with just one basement-dwelling Star Trek nerd? The big threat moving slowly through a porthole and closing the portal was groan-worthy. Gods, I am glad I avoided this whole thing. Also, if B9's full personality and memories were on flash drives, why on earth wasn't he put into a new body? We've been over that. And it seems that the Sillians that made this happen weren't thinking, and just did it because cool, and we're in charge, so cool. You go, badly paced directors. making Lucky Clerks into an android. I thought the whole point of having these new Starship series was just to have these season-long grand narratives. Why, put him in the old body as all. The writing is baffling, the actors are all bad, and the characters suck. Why not put him in a young android and write him off? The aliens are all on about androids because android planet. Why kill him in the first place if we're just going to bring him back? It's like no planning went into these final episodes. They make no sense at all. Even more than that, these people have discovered immortality, and no one cares.
Everyone is just content to fly off and die in 20 to 70 years, depending on their age.
Meanwhile, in Lucky Clerks, they just throw away and announce that they have invented artificial people and the ability to transfer human consciousness into them, and everyone just shrugs and goes back to their mortal lives. Did I miss what it was firmly established that the Mars shipyard's attacks was a Romulan plot? Sometime last episode, I think. I'd look it up for you, but you understand that I don't want to watch it again. This show is absolute dreck.
The motivations and reasons for characters is not clear.
Lucky Clerks until the last episode has been a backseat character. There hasn't been much of any character development or chemistry between the ensemble cast. At this point, I'm hate-watching it. I have no desire to watch it again, or to even remember it existed. Contrast this with other Starship.
This reminds us of what? If their point is that refugees are evil, the premise is absolute garbage. I can't believe it got renewed, and that people had been proud to work on this steaming pile of crap. The Romulan brother arc just ended. I guess he was fine because he had emotions. Starting the whole thing wasn't his fault. Oh, wait. No.
It seems like basic grade school level writing is beyond this hack. Speed through plots and get those emotions with musical swells and people crying, even though in the plot it's so blatantly obvious it'll get better in 5 minutes, and it does.
It's a satire, but they genuinely think it's good writing.
Oh yeah, Lucky Clerks. Who made you an android? But you're still old, will die, and don't have any superhuman speed, strength, or computing power.
You're going to kill him, leave him dead for the season.
It's like they did it just to have a death scene. Everyone with even a mite of attention knew he was going to end up in a droid. Just leave it hanging.
Then people can feel clever for noticing and wildly theorizing about how they will bring back our hero. The crying acting in this show is some of the worst I've ever seen. Like when Raffi was holding Eleanor for... especially.
I know it's a weird thing to grab onto, but it really stuck out to me. Fool me once, shame on you. You fool me and you can't be fooled again, or can you? They've distracted us up to this point. We're still here, taking riffs on this show. Someone must have loved it, or we wouldn't be here. But somehow it hurts more.
He's dead, but then he's suddenly back again 5 minutes later. Retired Riker suddenly has a billion Federation starships and wants to kick some ass. Kill me now.
None of this makes any sense.
B9 in the simulation. Raffi and Seven doing that sexual love interest handhold at the end. Have they ever met before?
I don't even care to remember at this point. Everyone mourning Lucky Clerks is just so jarring and forced, and every ship looks copied and pasted. Lucky Clerks turning into a Q would have been fine. But a Starship Lucky Clerks, so that'll be the final episode, whatever.
Seven kicks the woman off a ledge and says, "This is for you." Starship could be campy at times, but that was B-level crap.
The show is bad. The stupid thing about B9 is he's in 3 USB sticks. Nothing's stopping anyone from just plugging them back in. I doubt Lucky Clerks took them, because the writers are too dumb to think about that. They just thought it'd be cool to show B9 getting old and ghost vanish in digital heaven. I don't mind Starship looking cheap. I think I prefer it, in fact, because it means they'd have to focus on storytelling instead. But the show's aesthetic is sitting squarely in some awful direct-to-DVD no man's land. Same. I never understood the complaints about TOS special effects. I'd much rather have something with a good plot that looks like a local theater production than this CGI mess. Most moments that were supposed to be emotional and have weight to them just feel hollow to me.
All the drama and the relationships and the decisions, everything is just a string of things happening, but nothing or very little is truly earned. In the end, trust and sacrifice and love save the day. Lucky Clerks led by example, and that is not how you deal with children.
I'm surprised that no one tried to spank the controls.
Him setting up a conference call was enough, apparently.
The grounded cube from the outside looked good, though. So, B9, I appreciate they gave him a proper death that puts closer to his character and gives his sacrifice meaning. And a real death is that piece that brings his quest for humanity full circle. The aging face was terrible, though. I know it's what the audience gets, but still, it didn't really make sense. And it was a bit too much Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. But from a scientific point of view, couldn't they have put him in a new body, too? They weren't thinking fourth-dimensionally. It's your kids, Marty. Something's got to be done about your kids. And why wouldn't they? I will ask Elton soon about this. But he's not here. Next mission. Or why do it for Lucky Clerks and not B9? Lucky Clerk's intention was to sacrifice himself, and he died. Does it lessen his sacrifice if he lives in the end? Again, I doubt they put too much strong a point of logic on it. They just did it because cool, that'd be fun. Nobody will notice if it's baffling. Or did they only have the one golem body?
Clearly, they did not consider having a backup. You would think that on a planet of machines, the last of their kind, that they would have deliberately made backups.
Why did the Federation suddenly lift the synth ban? Robots can still be hacked. Any crazy synth person like Lore could still try to open a porthole to Synth Cthulhu, but due to Lucky Clerks, the synths now trust all organics, and all the Federation member worlds suddenly trust the synths.
This host was one of Kolos' crew. These are all good points. And note that we have driven the bluegill's power into obscurity. And it cannot harm us here. We have to be sure. Sure of what? That we weren't in on it? That's ridiculous. We were not sure, as you appeared to us 3 years back and killed the boss lady, and then left us. We had no way of knowing which side others of your kind would be on.
They are children. I suggest you treat them as such. They are curious, wanting, needing, but do not know what they need. They only know they do. B9 just wanted a finite lifespan to feel alive. Lucky Clerks did not need to kill him that instant. He did not know what would become of his Sillian self, so he did thus. He could have said we'd destroy the drives in 30 years.
The cute should never have opened the Pandora's box, and now the former children have these planets, to do with as they see fit. They can still destroy the universe without B9's offspring.
I like the part where Starfleet vehemently apologized to Lucky Clerks for ignoring his warnings and ended the synth ban after realizing it was due to them being infiltrated for so long. What apology?
They did not make one, so as far as we know. But we're still on the planet right here, contacting you, reestablishing it. You will come out finally, won't you? The porthole to another dimension, filled with crazy AI space worms, felt particularly hammy to me.
This was bad. I mean bad. Mike nailed it with a Mass Effect ripoff. As bad as M3 was, it's still a better version than this one. I called it. Because it remembers things from past episodes and explores them, rather than alternating between empty pandering and naked contempt for the audience. So why were we told to go about this for hours?
The series was a complete mess.
If you'll excuse me.
I commented halfway. What did I just watch? Peanut hamper, yay! I can't believe they did the character dies and is resurrected 5 minutes later as a synth. It hit me as Elrond was crying.
I remember the blank body Soong Jr. was working on.
They shoehorn in 2 happy ending relationships, and one is way out of left field.
I knew it would end poorly.
I can't believe that they spent like half the time building up the Borg cube, and then in the final episode it just crashes into the planet. Once again, Seven drops into the plot at the precise second she's needed, out of nowhere.
And the main characters of the plot don't really do anything.
And they had to throw in the obligatory she's a lesbian scene. Just confused old lesbian alcoholic vigilante. The whole thing comes off incredibly convoluted and improbable, and I doubt the ability of the writers to pay respect to this type of story. There are good stories to be told in this universe, even about these topics. They just can't seem to do it coherently. I think it's time to run far away from the synth thing. It's done to death, but I think the writers just were too lazy to come up with anything different. Rest in peace, Professor Lucky Clerks. All hail our new master, Robot Lucky Clerks. I agree. Aliens, Arch, please.
How was the last 10 minutes of this show not all of the Romulans and all the Starfleet shouting, "What is that thing coming through the portal? Holy shit!"
You mean you could have done that all along?
Yes, we could have. We had to know if your intentions were true. And they are. We had to determine, though, that you were not ready to know everything. Yada yada, blah blah. And I don't even know a single thing that happened in this. So I suppose the finale was very on brand, that nothing happened. Lucky Clerks died, and then 5 minutes later was brought back to life as an android that is identical to him apart from one tiny brain problem. I don't know what else to say.
Can we talk about the kissing? Raffi and Seven killed someone. Then a couple of scenes later they kissed, despite barely having spoken before. It's forgotten about. Now they kissed again?
Won't the AI space tentacles get suspicious of the fact that the 9/11 call got cut short, and that someone slammed the portal shut in their face?
Mostly selection bias, though. This was like being privy to the embarrassing fever dream of a very stupid child. I cannot wait to forget all of it. Lucky Clerks at the poker game was the end.
It's over. I honestly enjoyed some parts, especially the speech Lucky Clerks gives. What they did with B9 was tasteful, and in character, wanting to die so we can truly live a human existence, but for a short moment. At least the ban on synths is gone, and Commodore O isn't tainting Starfleet anymore. The universe seems a little brighter.
While you were talking about the Clerks show, the freaky people have decided to make contact and are willing to rejoin the Federation. You can come home now. Everyone, well done. I'm no longer possessed by the alien. Hope I didn't do anything weird.
The ship was fine. We are in your debt, Captain Locarno.
Bits like the one group leave the ship to the synth hippie camp, and then the other group leaves the synth hippie camp to the ship feels jarring as frack.
Hippie camp? Not to mention the group that went to the hippie camp ended up not really making any plot progressions, making it all pointless.
The hypnosis of this planet will take a bit to wear off. They may be like this for hours, or even days. Excuse me, Captain. Really? How did you stay sane during all this? Freaky Loud was designed as a mock Federation colony to spy on you. We were immune. When the neutral zone went down, it became a free state. Still is. Then that evil lady took over, but she was killed by Seven. Also, Piedmont killed Maddox. But nothing is ever truly gone here. They get reborn somewhere else. We may have to find this all over again. Let's go home. Welcome to Freaky Loud.
The children wish to meet with you, Captain Locarno. Children? What are you talking about?
They're children, but they're grown now. They're just obsessed with things like Lucky Clerks.
They can be annoying.
Like classic Redditors. Captain's log supplemental. The landing team has been rescued from the planet Freaky Loud, which it turns out was a former Romulan experiment to spy on the Federation, and it had to copy our culture a little too well. We have made a negotiation with the Freaky leadership, and will make formal talks for peace with them. As a synth protectorate, all is well. Dun, 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 dun.
The Lord registered isn't. Screwed up. Dun 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 dun. Blue skies smiling at me, nothing but blue skies do I see. Bluebirds
singing a song. Nothing but bluebirds all day long. Never saw the sun shining so bright. Never saw things going so right. Noticing the days hurrying by. When you're in love, my how they fly. Oh, blue skies, all of them gone. Nothing but blue skies from now on. I never saw the sun shining so bright. Never saw things going so right. Noticing the days hurrying by. When you're in love, my how they fly. Oh, blue skies, all of them gone. Nothing but blue skies from now on. Dun, 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 dun.